because I never thought that I would go back to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
For one, I thought that was the end of it. And it's full circle, 30 something years later, I'm back. And I felt, okay, well, I'm here. And I've had gone through those issues personally. And at the point in my life is that I really wanted to say something. That's what I started, I guess, carefully choosing images that, not only images, but works that were speaking for myself about what people in my place are going through. Which, yes, I am a migrant, or immigrant, or whatever it was called. And so, yes, at this point in my life, that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Portraits, I did that early on, but it's there's a lot of people doing it, so I felt, it was not for me anymore.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a pit bull?
No, because, they're beautiful to see and everything, but boy, are they dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that I guess that's his life, and I respect that, but me personally, I will not own a pit bull. I've seen too many cases where they just turn on you. And I've seen other cases where I guess it all depends on where they come from and how you treat them and everything, but they're very dangerous. Mm-hmm. But it's a culture and the border. It's along like those low-rider cars.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also a status symbol. And they go pretty much anywhere 300 to sometimes $1,500 per dog,
wow.
Depending on, I guess, they have all kinds of papers. Like for instance, it shows the parent and the mother, so that there's no inbreeding.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's more like a birth certificate. Mm-hmm. And they're expensive, but they're dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you come to meet this particular man? How did y'all's friendship develop?
We worked together at a maquila. Okay.
And what's a maquila?
A maquila is called, I guess, they're factories on the border. That they're on both sides of the border. Mm-hmm. In this particular case, it's El Paso and Juarez. And what they do is they're American companies that go because of the cheap labor to the border in Mexico. Mm-hmm. It's too expensive for them to go to China, or they still want to have a U.S., I guess, food. And so they manufacture things on Mexico. They cross them across the border to, in this case, to El Paso. And either then all of a sudden it's a U.S. made product. So that's basically a company on the border. That's what a maquila is. And so I worked with him, and some people like him, and you kind of befriend them, and they got really interesting stories because they all their life, like for instance, he's never been to anywhere else. So all he knows is just part of Mexico and part of the border, I think in California. But he doesn't know places like Chicago. He doesn't know that there's more Mexicans in New York, and they're everywhere. So the culture is different, mm-hmm. and their values are different. But they're still people, like us, and there's a lot of things to. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a series of people that I know. Mm-hmm. There's some other ones that are half Mexican, half American, and things that they had to say. And there's also blacks from Texas, which is even interesting. Mm-hmm. And and they've been all their life in Texas. Mm-hmm. I'm used to blacks from Chicago. They're way different. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like going down the line on each of those members, and he's the first one.
Oh, that's great. Is this taken from a photograph, or is
yes, it was a photograph taken from my girlfriend. Her name is Lidia Limas. She's also a photographer and artist. Mm-hmm. And to give her credit, I took her image.
Oh, yeah.
I want to make sure that I say that. Because, she's also, I guess I painted in her own right.
Mm-hmm.
But since let's say I work faster or I can work in bigger, so I tend to borrow some of her images.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that I give him credit.
Yeah.
But it came from a photograph, yes.
That's cool.
But the design, the design and the concept is mine. Well, basically, I guess in honor of the 16th Serie, this particular is a symbol, it's an Aztec Nahuatl for number 16.
Oh.
And this figurine is actually from Aztec Codes, where it shows the symbol for dog. And that's how I was able to, I guess, marry the concept for Series 16,
Mm-hmm.
and plus the fact that he's of Mexican descent, which is kind of like it's a seed thrown from the wind from Mexican descent.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what he's done with his life here in the U.S. culture.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much it.
That's great. And what is the number on his jersey that his arm and the dog are blocking? The one in the back?
No,
What
I was
that?
actually, that was well, it's, they borrow the sports culture. That's why they use this kind of jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
The number is not that important, but it's the look.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, in the cap, some reason I guess LA gear, clothes. Mm-hmm. So they got a distinct look.
Mm-hmm.
I know in the 70s it used to be with those. Anyway, there's a type of shirt that they used to wear, mm-hmm. and times change, so that's the kind of look that they have now. And he does dress like that, mm-hmm. almost every day.
Yeah.
That's sort of like what will be the Cholo look in El Paso.
Mm-hmm. Do you by any chance know the names of the dogs?
I was told the names, yes, but I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they do have names, and this one actually was his first one, so it was like his pride and joy, because that was the first puppy from the litter, and the last one that I guess he sold everybody else. There was about 7, and he was the last one.
Oh.
That last one to be sold, but the first one to be born. So I guess you might say it's the alpha.
Oh, yeah.
So he had an affinity for him.
So does your friend know that he's the subject of this photograph and this print?
Yes, he does. Prior to this project, the photograph was taken last year. I want to make sure that he ended up with a nice portrait. Mm-hmm. The original photograph, he ended up with a nice frame portrait, and also I think it's about 11 by 14. Mm-hmm. Also with this the dog by itself, because mm-hmm. I mean it is beautiful. It's hard to tell in this print, but yeah, 2 of those photographs, and then I did tell him that I was going to use, and he's going to get a frame sign, nice.
Oh, cool.
Oh no, definitely he's got to get that.
Oh yeah, that's neat.
So that's what I plan to do with everybody that I know.
States.
Okay, well, I was born in Mexico City, and I migrated to the United States in 1971. Spent 4 years in San Antonio, Texas, and then from San Antonio, I guess there's migrants. They go every summer up north to Michigan, and that's how I ended up in Chicago in 1974. And from 1974 to 2005, Chicago was my home, Chi-town. And 2005, I moved to El Paso, Texas. This is where I currently reside in El Paso. And this particular piece, I guess, to me, is sort of like coming a full circle on your life as an immigrant in the United States. I work at what they call a maquila. And I started, I figured, well, I'm in El Paso, right on the border. A lot of things are happening right now regarding drug wars and immigration and everything. This particular piece is about a friend of mine. We work together at La Maquila, and it's a series that I call Maquila Blues series. Uh, his nickname is Cholo. His name is Art, Arturo, or Arthur. And what struck me about him is that he lives only about 2 blocks away from the border between New Mexico and El Paso, Texas, and Juarez. And he breeds pit bulls, blue pit bulls. And one of the things that is kind of surreal is that at least 3 times a week, in order for the dogs to get exercise, he just releases them in the sand, desert. And it's not uncommon for him to see him, let's say, in the evening, with the dogs running around and the puppies also, and then you see in the background border patrol, what we call la migra. And so you see something like that. It's kind of surreal. It's kind of the culture, I guess, for the border, and that's how the idea came about. I hope that kind of
an artist.
Well, okay. I guess it started in San Antonio that I started drawing, and because of the culture in the border, it there was sort of like a pride on the arts, especially among Mexicans during that time. And when I migrated to Chicago, I actually went to the Art Institute of Chicago. I didn't finish my school, but I learned enough from it. And well, I guess during the 70s on Chicago, I joined the MIRA movement. Muralist named Ricardo Alonso went to the high school I was in, and he was giving a lecture. And basically, he was telling us whoever wanted to work for summers for him, and that's how I got into the arts. That was in 1974. From there, I realized that I liked it, so I continued. I did some printmaking early on, but it's been mainly just painting. Thanks to getting involved in the Chicano movement and a cultural movement. That's how I ended up with some of my paintings at the first Mexican museum in Chicago. And now it's sort of like a close family. It's sort of almost like 6 degrees of separation. If you meet someone, they know someone that you know, and so that's how I ended up here.
Renee recommended you.
Oh yes, Rene Arcel, which I have participated in several of his projects, and hopefully I will continue to work with him. Thanks to him, I was able to. He recommended me, and I guess I applied for you guys, and you felt it was important enough, and thank you for. Okay, I did some silkscreen in the early 80s and late 90s. So I have not done much of a silkscreen for a very long time. And this time I had the opportunity to do one, and a problem I encountered was that I was still thinking like a painter, and not unlike also a friend of mine that it had the same mistake, that tried to do some airbrushing to be reproduced and silkscreen, and so we're thinking painting, not the media silkscreen. Thanks to, I guess, Brian, the master printmaker, he was able to help me at least along to make some adjustments to come up with this print. I admit that I wish I would have done a little bit more homework on my part regarding more the media, and I would be able to solve some of those initial problems. Overall, I mean, at least the print got done, and I'm thanking San Coronado and the Serie studio and all of you guys. And so it was a learning experience. I'm hoping that to do it again. And next time I definitely will research more in terms of, for instance, bleeds and registration and everything, which I think was what my problem was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did learn, and I guess it's sort of like school of hard knocks, because you have vision of what you want it to look like, and you can do that with painting, but silkscreen is, I guess it takes a life of its own. Yeah, it does take a life of its own. You start with something, and it's like you gotta make adjustments as you go along, because some of the detail that you want to keep gets lost. And some things that you don't want it to come out, they come out. So it's like, so you have to think and you feel. And yes, it's very important to listen and I guess work together with your print master, master printmaker. I mean. Like this is my first time here in Austin. It's a beautiful city. It reminds me sort of like New York, some parts like New York and Chicago also. I went to the actually Mexicarte exhibit, that one of the exhibits that they have right now, probably the most comprehensive exhibit on prints that I've seen, period. Consejo Gráfico. And I had actually a nice surprise, because unbeknownst to me, they actually have one of my prints being exhibited, and I thought it was like an icing on the cake, quite frankly, because I mean, they got printmakers, you might say, from all over the world, and so I was glad to be able to see that, and I'm hoping that it travels, because when I inquire about it, I think this is the end of the line unless somebody else takes it, and I think more cities should be able to have that access. That's pretty much.
It really is a breakthrough exhibit. It's,
no, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, but like I said, I was kind of maybe disappointed to hear that this is the end of the line for the exhibit, that they have nowhere else it's going to go, and I don't think it's. They tell me that it hasn't been done before, and again, I'm a painter, but as a painter, you might say we're a bunch of prima donnas. Nobody wants to admit it, but yeah, we are. But as printmaker, it's a family. There's a whole atmosphere of a family, and maybe the fact that it's on paper and it's easier to travel, but it's more of you get the feeling of a collective effort, unlike when it is you paint on your own and everything and you exhibit and it's just about me. But as a printmaker, it is a family, and I like that. I mean, I've been able to. I have had exhibits and paintings, but through printmaking, I have been able. My work has been able to travel all over the world, which paintings wouldn't be able to do that unless you're really well known. So I work in printmaking, either to silkscreen or any other type, like lithography or stuff like that. But I like that. I said I hope that it does make it to other cities. So it has to do with funding, or but because they even asked Sam to see if he will take that on. He's got his hand full, and the people from the Museum Mexicarte, I don't know if they'll do that, and I guess it was initiated by the University of Notre Dame, so I don't know if they're going to do that. I hope they do. Okay, well.